Electric motors are everywhere. They move factory conveyors, operate water pumps, power cooling fans, run compressors, and drive countless machines that modern life depends on. But one motor is used more widely than almost any other, the induction motor. It has no fuel, no pistons, and inside its most common squirrel cage design, no electrical wires connected to the spinning rotor.
Electricity enters the stationary part of the motor, yet somehow the rotor begins turning. So how can electricity make a completely disconnected metal rotor spin? The answer involves three-phase electricity, a rotating magnetic field, and one of the most important principles in electrical engineering, electromagnetic induction.
The induction motor became popular because it is simple, strong, and dependable. It can operate for thousands of hours in factories, pumping stations, ventilation systems, elevators, workshops, and processing plants. Unlike some other motors, the common squirrel cage induction motor does not require brushes or a commutator to deliver electricity to its rotor.
That means fewer components experience mechanical wear. Induction motors can also be manufactured in many sizes. A small version can power a household appliance, while an enormous industrial version can drive a powerful pump or compressor. Although their sizes may be completely different, they all operate using the same basic principle. To understand that principle, we first need to examine the motor's main components.
The stationary outer section of the motor is called the stator. Inside the stator are coils of insulated copper wire. These coils are arranged around a core made from thin steel laminations. The laminations help reduce unwanted electrical currents and excessive heating inside the steel. At the center of the motor is the rotor. The rotor is connected directly to the output shaft. Bearings support the shaft and allow it to rotate smoothly. A very narrow space separates the rotor from the stator. This space is called the air gap. The stator does not physically touch the rotor. There are no gears transferring movement between them. This means the force turning the rotor must cross the air gap without direct physical contact. The secret lies inside the rotor itself. The most common induction motor uses something called a squirrel-cage rotor. Inside this rotor are conductive bars made from aluminum or copper. The bars run along the rotor and are connected together by a metal ring at each end. This creates a complete electrical circuit. The structure resembles the cylindrical exercise cages once used for small animals. That is where the unusual name comes from. The rotor cage has no direct connection to the electrical supply. No external wire delivers current to it, and no battery is hidden inside it. Instead, electricity is created, or induced, inside the rotor bars by the magnetic field produced by the stator. In this way, an induction motor behaves somewhat like a transformer. However, unlike the secondary winding of an ordinary transformer, the rotor is free to turn. Most large induction motors operate using three-phase alternating current. A three-phase power supply contains three alternating electrical currents. Each current repeatedly rises, falls, and reverses direction. However, the three currents do not reach their maximum values at the same time. They are separated by 120 electrical degrees. Each phase powers a different group of stator windings. As the three currents change, the magnetic strength and direction produced by each group of windings also change. When these three magnetic fields combine, they form one magnetic field that appears to rotate around the inside of the stator. Nothing inside the stator is physically spinning. The copper windings remain stationary. It is the magnetic field created by the changing currents that rotates. The speed of this field depends on the electrical frequency and the number of magnetic poles produced by the stator windings. For example, a 4-pole motor operating on a 60 Hz supply creates a rotating magnetic field moving at 1800 revolutions per minute. This rotating field is what brings the rotor to life. When power is first applied, the rotor is stationary, but the stator's magnetic field is already rotating around it. As this moving magnetic field crosses the conductive rotor bars, it induces a voltage inside them. Because the bars are connected by the two end rings, the circuit is complete. Electrical current begins flowing through the squirrel cage. That induced current creates a second magnetic field around the rotor. The rotor's magnetic field interacts with the rotating magnetic field from the stator. This interaction produces force around the rotor. The combined force creates torque, causing the rotor and shaft to turn. The rotor begins spinning in the same direction as the stator's magnetic field.
Electricity never passes directly from a wire into the rotor. It is induced across the air gap by magnetism. That is why this machine is called an induction motor.
As the rotor accelerates, it begins approaching the speed of the rotating magnetic field, but it can never completely catch it. Suppose the rotor reached exactly the same speed as the field. The magnetic field would no longer move across the rotor bars. Without relative movement, no voltage would be induced. Without induced voltage, there would be no rotor current.
And without rotor current, the motor would stop producing torque. The rotor must therefore rotate slightly slower than the magnetic field. This difference in speed is called slip. For example, the field may rotate at 1800 revolutions per minute, while the rotor turns at approximately 1750. That small difference allows the field to continue crossing the rotor bars and producing torque. Slip is not a fault. It is an essential part of how the motor operates.
When more mechanical load is placed on the shaft, the rotor slows down slightly. This increases the difference between the rotor speed and the rotating magnetic field. The increased slip causes more voltage and current to be induced inside the rotor. More rotor current produces a stronger magnetic interaction and therefore more torque. The motor naturally responds to the additional load. However, there is a limit. If the mechanical load becomes too large, the motor may stall. The rotor stops or becomes extremely slow while large electrical currents continue flowing. This can produce dangerous heating. That is why industrial motors use overload relays, circuit breakers, and other protective equipment.
An induction motor can draw a large current when it first starts. Smaller motors may connect directly to the electrical supply. Larger motors often use soft starters or variable frequency drives to control the starting process. Reversing a three-phase induction motor is surprisingly simple. Swapping any two of the three electrical phases reverses the direction of the rotating magnetic field. The rotor then begins turning in the opposite direction.
For precise speed control, engineers use a variable frequency drive, commonly called a VFD. A VFD changes the frequency supplied to the motor. Lowering the frequency slows the rotating magnetic field. Increasing the frequency makes it rotate faster. This allows pumps, fans, and conveyors to operate at the speed actually required.
No electric motor is perfectly efficient. Some energy becomes heat inside the stator windings and rotor bars. Additional energy is lost through magnetism, bearing friction, and the cooling fan. Engineers reduce these losses using efficient copper windings, carefully designed rotor bars, thin steel laminations, improved bearings, and effective cooling.
Even a small improvement in efficiency can make an enormous difference when thousands of motors operate every day. Correct motor sizing and variable speed control can also reduce wasted electricity while extending equipment life.
The induction motor works through a simple but powerful sequence. Three-phase electricity creates a rotating magnetic field. That field induces current inside the squirrel-cage rotor. The induced current creates another magnetic field. The interaction between the two fields produces torque. And the small difference called slip keeps the entire process working. No fuel, no direct electrical connection to the spinning cage, just electricity, magnetism, and motion. That is how the induction motor quietly powers the modern world. If you enjoy discovering how the machines around us really work, subscribe to How Engineering Works.